Hello guys, this is Dark Fox Sage 2 and we are back with our new fanfic, which is What If Naruto Learned Puppet Art from Sasori Demon with Puppet Hands Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and please subscribe to the channel. It motivates me to upload more fanfic like these for you all. Now let's start the fanfiction. Naruto didn't remember the trip through the desert, or when he got separated from the Anbu and the Hokage, but somehow he had arrived in a strange alley. He ran a hand over the wall, and found an indentation. He squinted and saw the faded red paint in the shape of scorpion. Naruto pushed on it, and the ground beneath him fell away. He was sent shooting down a slide, and landed on an old mattress in a large room, which quickly filled with dust. Naruto started coughing violently, and when he stopped, the dust had settled, revealing the room. Hanging on the walls were wooden body parts, weapons, clothing, scrolls, and even some bags full of hair. Naruto was wondering what this room was, when an image of a teenager popped up from a seal. He was 5'6", with short, spiky red hair, dressed in a black cloak with red clouds on it. Attention whoever found this room. My name is Sasori of the Red Sand. I am the greatest puppeteer of all time. My prowess is unlimited. My age is unending. Within this room you will find parts for a puppet, as well as the scrolls containing all of my knowledge up to this point. I leave this for Suna. As one last mocking acting on its people. The image flickered away, and Naruto began to search through the scrolls. He pulled one down that said Beginnings of Puppetry on it and opened it up. Inside were several diagrams, showing how to make something called chakra strings. Naruto turned his head to the side in confusion. What the crap is chakra? He went searching through the scrolls until he found one that explained chakra to him. Then he returned back to the first scroll. He followed the instructions and reached out towards a puppet arm on the wall. It twitched and started to lift up off its hooks, but clattered back into place. Naruto clenched his teeth and tried again. For the next week, Naruto trained with the chakra strings. Eventually he was able to easily move the arm with only one finger. At the end of the week, he was spinning it around the room, when a bat flew down from the ceiling. There was a click and a blade flew out of the arm and into the bat, pinning it to the wall. Naruto smiled and pulled the arm back. He opened up the scroll again, and smiled at the title of the next section, Making Your Own Puppet, and began to read. It took him 3 hours to read the whole section, because even though he was 7 he couldn't read very well. But once he was finished, he quickly found all the tools he would need. He examined the tools carefully. He had 3 screwdrivers, 4 swords, a torso, a head, some hair, a blowtorch, a zanbato, a device to fire senbon, kunai and shuriken, a tail, a blowtorch, some poison, oil, and a demon windmill shuriken. He began to assemble the pieces using the instructions inside Sasori's scroll. It took another month to get it down, but when it was done, the puppet had the body of a man about to be in his 20s, with spiky silver hair. The eyes were red with fox pupils, and a mouth full of fangs. The jaw could open up large enough for shuriken, senbon or kunai to be fired out. It was dressed in a tattered back cloak, and had the large zanbato strapped to his back. The inside of his left arm was filled with the oil, with the blowtorch built into the wrist. The right arm could shoot out poison. The demon windmill shuriken and the katana were strapped to his back. The tail was covered in more silver hair, and could split into 4 pieces that fired weapons. Naruto examined the puppet. He smiled, putting his hands on his hips, and said, "I'll name you Quicksilver." With a few finger movements, he began to test out the puppet. Once he was satisfied that everything was in order, he grabbed a large backpack from the corner. He began stuffing all the remaining tools and parts and scrolls into the bag. Naruto moved his fingers in a complex pattern and the back of Quicksilver opened up, revealing a hollow shell. Naruto climbed in and the back closed up. Quicksilver pushed the bag in with Naruto and they took off. He climbed up the chute like a spider and shot out of the hole and into the air. Quicksilver landed on the roof of the building by the chute. Instantly, he was surrounded by the Konoha Anbu, the two cages, and several Suna ninja. Oh, calm down, Sarutobi. It's just a puppet. They started to leave, when the back split open and out popped Naruto. Hey old man, how's it going? Naruto. The Hokage shot forward and wrapped Naruto in a bear hug. Where have you been? And whose puppet is this? I found this old cave with a bunch of scrolls and parts in it and made this puppet. Watch this. Quicksilver shot up into the air and did a flip. As it did, the flames ignited, turning the puppet into a spinning flame wheel. Naruto jerked his fingers, and the flames exploded outward. Quicksilver landed next to him and clicked a few times before becoming still. All the ninjas stared in shock as Naruto moved the puppet around in complex patterns. Well, Sarutobi, it seems you have a natural puppeteer here. The man took off his hat, revealing a kind face with a burr of dark brown hair. Suddenly he straightened up, and his face hardened. What is it you want, Gaara? I was just wondering what all the commotion was, said a tiny voice. A small boy appeared on a cloud of sand, dressed in a light brown shirt and pale blue pants. He had a bright crop of red hair and a blue scarf. Sarutobi, Konoha nin, this is my son, Gaara. He is our village's Jinchuriki. The Hokage gasped. You turned your own son into a Jinchuriki. Did your fourth Hokage not do the same? The cage yelled back. The Hokage glared at him. That is an isolated incident, he said. He threw a glance at Naruto. The cage calmed down and turned towards Gaara, only to find him and Naruto playing together. They must know they are a sort of family. One of the other ninja pointed out. Sarutobi began to stroke his beard. You don't seem to like your son. Truthfully, we're all afraid he'll lose control one day and kill us. Well, I could take him off your hands. Maybe one day fix his seal. The cage considered it. Then he saw Gaara lift a gleeful Naruto into the air with a burst of sand. Well, Sarutobi, I'll trade you Gaara for supplies. We're running low on medical herbs and tobacco. You got yourself a deal, Lord Cage. Time skip. Gaara stared back at the gates of Suna as they slowly grew smaller and smaller. The cage's eyes bore through him, even at that distance, but there was something inside them. Anger, rage, disappointment, or could it be regret? Gaara turned away and began to talk to Naruto. An Anbu in a weasel mask appeared and whispered to the Hokage. The old man nodded and turned to the two smiling boys playing with each other. Naruto, could you and Gaara get inside your puppet for a while? We have to rush back to Konoha for urgent business. Naruto pulled back his fingers and Quicksilver exploded up from beneath the sand. It landed on the ground and Gaara quickly pulled the sand from the joints. The back opened up and they climbed in. As soon as the back closed, the puppet was picked up by someone who began running at incredible speeds down through the desert. Time skip. 2 hours later, Sarutobi kicked down the door of the council room. He glared at an older man, whose body was wrapped in bandages. The man had a shocked look on his face as Sarutobi swiped a bowl full of paper from him. On the paper were names and a title explaining that the vote was for a new Hokage. Lord Hokage, said a woman in a red kimono with bright pink hair. We thought you were dead. Sit down, Haruno, he growled. The woman sat back down as Sarutobi walked back and forth. An assassin was discovered and killed by my Anbu escort. He was sent to kill Naruto, and if possible me, and then to disappear if both were successful. He wouldn't tell us who he was hired by. But that doesn't matter. He stopped and slammed his fist into the solid oak desk, shattering it beneath his fist. I can't prove that someone from this council was responsible, but if it was, be warned. Next time, I'll have you all executed, guilty or not. He disappeared out the door, and the council members began to talk angrily among themselves. Meanwhile, Gaara and Naruto were playing around the village. Villagers shied away when they saw the puppet being controlled by the blonde-haired boy, and when Gaara used his sand to stop a rotten fruit from hitting them, rumors began to fly. Eventually, as Gaara and Naruto approached the ninja academy, a group of adult civilians appeared around them. "So, a pair of demons wants to hurt our children," one of them said. "I don't think so." The crowd yelled in agreement and jumped on them. Naruto and Gaara were so surprised they couldn't react. But they didn't have to. The sand exploded out from Gaara's body and Gordon wrapped around them protectively. Fists pounded on the shell of sand to no avail. Naruto took a deep breath and connected his chakra strings to the weapons on Quicksilver. The top opened up and the puppet exploded into the air. The dome's top closed, and poison spewed from the puppet. As the villagers choked, Quicksilver ignited the poison and it exploded. The explosion drew most of the teachers and some surrounding ninja to the area. As the puppet was pulled back into the dome, a teacher with a scar across his face named Iruka stepped forward. "Naruto, is that you?" The dome fell apart and the blonde shot forward and wrapped his arms around the man's waist. "Iruka-sensei." The man laughed and returned the hug. Naruto stepped back and with a huge smile said, "Iruka-sensei, check out my cool new puppet. I made it myself." Quicksilver jumped over Naruto and landed between him and Iruka. The puppet drew its blade and Naruto had it show Iruka some of its abilities. Students began to come out to see what the commission was. Ninjas stared in amazement as this young boy demonstrated one of Suna's greatest techniques. "Die demon scum," someone yelled. 3 kunai, with exploding notes tied to them, soared through the air. Gaara's sand rushed forward in a wave and engulfed them in a ball of sand. The sphere expanded slightly as they detonated, but other than that nothing happened. The surprise rose as Gaara formed the sand into a gourd behind his back. The Hokage landed next to Naruto as a group of Anbu carried away a Chunin. "Ah, this is where you two are. Showing off, are we?" Naruto smiled at Gaara, and the redhead made an attempt to smile back. "Lord Hokage?" Iruka asked. "Yes, Iruka, how may I help you?" "I'm guessing Naruto and his friend are going to be enrolled into the academy." The Hokage laughed loudly, making smiles spread over most of the other ninjas' faces. "Of course. You know I hate to waste talent. That and the fact Naruto would pester me to death all day if he didn't have something to do." Naruto and Gaara had lived together in a 3-room apartment for 2 years now. Both of them were now 10 years old. The apartment room had a moderately good television, a rack of DVDs, a good couch and table, a microwave, a large refrigerator and a bed in Naruto's room. Puppet parts decorated the walls, with containers full of sand for Gaara to use. A bookshelf was full and organized with the scrolls from Sasori's room. Before Naruto had met Gaara, when he was still expelled from the Ninja Academy, no one would sell him anything, or give him bad products for 3 times the price. When he started coming into the stores with Gaara, they didn't dare threaten him, and began to sell him things for the real price. Suddenly, in Naruto's room, the blonde shot up in bed, gasping as the nightmare ended. Every night for the past 2 years, Naruto dreamed of the room. He dreamed of hunting down the bats and rats and killing and cooking them. He remembered the cold nights, and he remembered how he was forced to use the bathroom simply in a corner. Gaara closed the book he was reading. Was it any better this time? No, not really, but it could have been worse, he said as he got up. The dresser opened up and Naruto's clothes floated up and out over to him. He climbed into them, quickly walked into the main room. "No academy today, right?" "Nope. Just you and me for the day." Naruto grunted and plopped down on the couch, pulling the final scroll on puppets out of the shelf. "Gaara, come look at this title," Naruto said. He held it up for the redhead to read. "Making human puppets. Who would ever think of making a puppet out of a human?" "I don't know, but it looks kinda cool," Naruto said as he opened it up. His eyes scanned the scroll slowly and carefully. His face shifted into several stages of wonder and disgust as he read on. "Well, what's it say?" Naruto looked up at Gaara over the scroll and began to read aloud. "Begin by slicing open the intended puppet's chest. Remove the target's rib cage and very carefully remove and preserve the organs, taking great care not to damage the chakra network. Next. Naruto, injected Gaara, that is more than I need to know. And my hobby used to be crushing vermin-infested animals with my sand. Naruto smiled and continued reading. All day he read the scroll, until he had it completely memorized the contents. He put the scroll back in its place and sealed up the bookshelf. Next he sealed up all the appliances, the TV, the furniture, the puppet parts, sand, and anything the villagers could destroy in a fit of rage. What are you doing, Naruto? Gaara asked as Naruto threw the scroll to him and the sand put it inside the gourd. It's October 9th today, and tomorrow the villagers will get drunk. Naturally they'll try to kill me, to no avail naturally. Anyways, I'm going to sleep. Good night, Gaara. He went into his room and fell onto his bed, instantly falling asleep. Gaara pulled the scroll back out of his gourd and sealed all his belongings into it. He read a book until 2 o'clock in the morning, at which point he finished. He sealed the book away and left the building, heading to an all-night bookstore 18 blocks away. Unknown to Gaara, a group of Chunin were waiting outside the building with a mob of civilians. As soon as Gaara was 2 blocks away, they moved into the building, where the apartment residents met up with them. As they neared the apartment where Naruto was sleeping, they drew weapons and kicked down the door. They dragged Naruto out of his bed before he could react. They began to attack him, stabbing and hacking into his body. Naruto screamed once, so loud that Gaara heard him and dropped the book he was considering buying. Within Naruto's mind, the blonde landed in a damp and dark sewer, filled with red-lit hallways. He began to wonder for what felt like hours, until he came to a massive chamber. Pipes ran the length of the roof, into the massive gate on the other end of the chamber. It was held closed with nothing but a slip of paper. Naruto stepped forward and looked at the gate blankly. Suddenly, 2 red eyes appeared and jumped forward. A massive fox slammed into the gate and his claws stopped half a centimeter from Naruto's face. Ah, so the warden has arrived to visit his prisoner. The fox growled. Who are you? Naruto said, the emotion absent from his voice. Foolish boy, I am the great demon king, the Kyuubi no Kitsune, the 9-tailed fox. And I should care about that? Naruto asked with the same voice. The fox stared at Naruto in amazement. You don't care. Boy, I was sealed into you by the 4th Hokage. I am the reason you are still alive today. Naruto shrugged and turned around. He began to walk away from the gate as the water seemed to go up a few inches. Boy, you are dying. And I am the only one who can save you. Fine. I'll die. And you'll go with me. The fox growled and let loose with a mighty roar. A tidal wave of red energy flew through the gate and engulfed Naruto. Real world. The group laughed as they watched Naruto's eyes go dull. Glass and blades stuck out of him, his skin was sliced up, and blood was pooling from a slit throat. They began to congratulate each other, when suddenly, a red energy engulfed the boy. The glass and blades exploded from his body, the skin knitted itself together, and he began to rise. His eyes opened, his head snapped forward, and he roared, shaking the building. A chakra string closed the door and windows with a crash. Quicksilver fell from the ceiling and began to click as the hidden weapons began to activate. Naruto moved his pinky in simple movements and Quicksilver reacted. After 2 years, Naruto had become more skilled with the puppet, as well as made some modifications. Now Quicksilver had 9 tails that had 2 swords inside each, doused in poison. Naruto had bought a seal that caused a flame to appear when chakra passed through it. The oil was replaced with a more combustible gas, and poison bombs were loaded into it. A chain scythe now accompanied the Zanbato, and the 4 katana now slid out of Quicksilver's shoulder at Naruto's command. At the tips of each finger were claws that injected a deadly poison that killed from the smallest scratch. The Zanbato and the chain scythe made quick work of the ninja. And the claws forced the civilians to fall to the ground and go into a frothing seizure. As the last civilian died, Gaara kicked open the door. Naruto examined each body until he found a living set of Chunin, who Naruto recognized as the two who often did gate duty. Listen, you two. My aim was off, and that's the only reason you are alive. But as long as I have you, do me a favor. The red chakra strings wrapped around their throats and lifted them off the ground. They began to claw at their throats as the air was cut off. Go to the Hokage. Tell him to spread this message. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I am the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox. My power is unlimited, my age is 10, my knowledge is larger than most Chunin, and I will become the greatest puppeteer in the ninja world. He flicked his wrist and the Chunin flew through the windows. Naruto, are you okay? Gaara asked. It was one of the few times real concern had overtaken him. Naruto turned to him and looked at him with eyes void of any emotion. Yes, I'm fine. Could you unseal everything and set up a dome of sand around the building? I have a lot of work to do, he said, looking around the room. Gaara realized what Naruto was planning on doing and nodded. Do you need anything? Yeah. Break into the hospital and steal as much embalming fluid and preservatives as possible. Bring me large pieces of wood, blank seal tags, if you can, some of the advanced seal scrolls and books in the Junin library. A large toolbox, some seeds, a blow torch, lots of ink, thousands of candles, matches, food, water, a generator, and tell Iruka-sensei I won't be back in the academy for a few months. Gaara nodded and unsealed everything. He pulled the sand from the containers and a moment later all the light was blocked out. The red glow faded away from Naruto as he arranged the bodies and prepared what tools he had. For 3 months, the massive dome of sand remained in place. Gaara could be seen exiting and entering, usually with a scroll containing supplies and homework in his hand. And one day, without warning, it fell and Gaara pulled the sand back into containers. A civilian mob rushed the building that night. And instantly, puppets fell from the roof and rushed out the door, hundreds of them, wielding weapons and fire. The civilians were confused, and looked around for Naruto. Look, up there, someone yelled. In the corner of the hallway were wooden hands that chakra strings extended from, covered in chakra storing, security, ID recognition, monitoring and alert seals. All over the compound hands like this controlled puppets. The puppets quickly disposed of the mob and dragged the bodies inside. Naruto reappeared a month later, as silhouettes of puppets could be seen through the window. Naruto returned to the academy, much to the surprise of the other students. He grew to the top of the class quickly. And every day, Iruka became more and more surprised by how changed the boy was. One day, the Hokage appeared outside the building, only for the puppets to rush towards him. Suddenly, they stopped, and Naruto and Gaara appeared. Old man, how are you? Naruto said blankly. I'm good, Naruto. I see you've been busy. Yes, I've almost mastered all the jutsu Sasori has left in the scrolls. And I'm working on a new attack puppet. What do you need? Oh, nothing, I was just wondering how you were doing. As Naruto and the Hokage talked, a plan was being formulated across the village. In a secret room inside the Uchiha compound, the clan was formulating a plan. I say we send a group of elites to destroy the boy and take his puppets. We can make an army and use them to help us in the coup. A council member piped up. Yes, that might work. But, said the Uchiha leader, Fugaku Uchiha, the council hates him. We can have them send in a group of elite Uchiha, Hyuga, and militia. Then we can find how he makes those human puppets and turn the militia and Hyuga into our own personal defense. Father, said his son, Itachi, why don't we try to befriend him? Fugaku shook his head back and forth. He can't be reasoned with. He and that Gaara must be destroyed. Itachi stood up and left as the plan was refined. Time skip. 2 days later, Sarutobi entered the council room. He was surprised to see the large crystal viewing ball in the center of the room. The council members were all drinking tea or coffee. Ah, Lord Hokage. Fugaku Uchiha said happily. You're just in time for the show. Show? What show? Asked the Hokage. Well, said Sarutobi's old female teammate, we have decided the two Jinchuriki have become too hostile. So we have put together a force of elite Uchiha and Hyuga and stationed the militia around the apartment where they live. They shall destroy the boy. You what? Come to think of it, said Hiashi Hyuga, they should be arriving just about now. The crystal ball lit up, revealing a scene. Scene change. 10 elites dressed in full battle armor and decked out in weapons flew through the house. While the Uchiha occupied any puppets they met, the Hyuga shut down the chakra transferring hands. They hadn't known that hundreds of deadly traps were filling the house. Only their bloodlines had saved them. Poison gas and spike pits, axes and swords falling from the ceiling, and hundreds of others. As they reached the top floor, sand flooded the floor. Gaara appeared on a cloud of sand, levitating above the floor as the sand engulfed them. Discover more. Privacy policy templates. Writing software. Anime merchandise. Don't worry, boys, he said. It'll all be over soon. Then the floor collapsed beneath them, plunging them down into the basement. Purple gas flooded the room, and they were dead in seconds. Gaara called his sand back up as Naruto snapped. The hands instantly reactivated, and the militia outside screamed as puppets slaughtered them. Old man, council members, I know you're watching, Naruto said. He and Gaara looked up at them, much to their amazement. And thanks for the new bloodline puppets. Scene change. Sarutobi laughed at the shocked faces on the council's face. I tried to warn you. He's strong. And with Gaara on his side, he is invincible. Sarutobi sat down and smiled as the council started to yell. Scene change. Naruto dragged a body, Quicksilver took 2, and Gaara levitated 3 of the corpses to the Hokage tower. They walked past the shocked ninja and receptionist and calmly opened the door. They threw the bodies on the floor and began to leave. Demons. Fugaku Uchiha yelled, what have you done with Jinji and Hoshimaru? And what about Senna and Ritaru? Yelled Hiashi Hyuga. Senna and Hoshimaru are the girls, I presume? Naruto asked calmly. Yes, they are, yelled Fugaku. And we want them back. I'm sorry, Naruto said, but you sent them after me. I would have kept these 6 but I accidentally destroyed part of their chakra network, making them worthless. He and Gaara began to leave. However, Hiashi and Fugaku jumped forward. Instantly, Gaara's sand was swirling around them, ready to attack, and Quicksilver had his tails opened, the poison dripping from the 18 blades. The sand began to swirl quicker and quicker, and suddenly engulfed them. The sand lifted off the ground and sent them flying out of the window. Naruto stayed up all that night, making new control hands, and working on the creation of his new puppets. Time skip. 3 weeks later, Naruto appeared outside of his building. He went to the 4 buildings surrounding him. An hour later, all the residents were leaving, with bags full of money in hand and fearful expressions on their face. Naruto's security puppets moved out from the house, and began building a connection between those 4 buildings, and the original building. But this was just a distraction. Gaara and Naruto quickly realized they would need more advanced seals and knowledge for Naruto to truly control his 4 new puppets. So they split up. Gaara went creeping through the Hokage tower, searching for books on advanced seals. Meanwhile, Naruto was sneaking into the Hyuga compound. He was inside Quicksilver, in the ceiling, watching as the Hyugas ran past in outrage. When the coast was clear, he dropped down in front of the library door and deactivated the simple traps protecting it. He snuck inside and closed the door quickly. He turned around, only to find 2 girls staring at him in amazement. One was Hinata Hyuga, a girl from his class, who had purple hair and kind lavender eyes. She was dressed in blue pants and an off-white jacket. The girl next to her was her younger sister, Hanabi, he presumed. He often heard Hinata saying how Hanabi, who was only a year younger than her, yes, I made her older in this story, was already better than her at the gentle fist style Takiba in Izuka. She was dressed in black pants skirt, with fishnet under a red shirt, and a deep red trench coat. Her hair was longer than Hinata's, going down to a foot beneath her shoulders, and she had a harder, more determined version of Hinata's lavender eyes. Can we help you? Said Hanabi. No, I'm just here to take a few scrolls. I won't be long. Hanabi stared at him. You want to learn how to use Senna and Ritaru to their fullest abilities, right? Yes. I figured it was obvious. Well, you won't be able to. Naruto stopped halfway through reaching for a scroll. And why is that? Because you can't use the Byakugan on a puppet. Naruto pulled the scroll down and replaced it after reading the title. He continued on like this for the rest of the conversation. Actually, I can. With a very advanced seal. And besides, I don't need it. I have to know every in and out of every part of a person's body to make my human puppets. So I don't need the Byakugan. He said as he sealed the last of the 5 scrolls he had found. Which way to your armory? Down the hall, 5 doors, on the left. She answered. But it has 100 times better booby traps than this room. Naruto rolled his eyes and got inside Quicksilver. The puppet opened the door and flew down the hall, crawling over the dimly lit ceiling like a massive spider. He landed on the ground in front of the armory and took a look. The traps were very advanced, some better than he could make at the moment, but there was one fatal flaw. A place where there was no trap. He snorted and pulled up the panel of wood in front of the door. He crawled under the house and came up inside the armory. He whistled at all the weapons, made the pale white color of the Byakugan. Kunai, swords, daggers, spears, shuriken, senbon, scythes, armor, everything, the same pale white color. Naruto got out of his puppet and had it dash around the room, picking up every weapon and place it on the storage seal. In a puff of smoke, the weapons were gone. Naruto got into the puppet and dove under the flooring, right as the door opened. He smiled as he heard Hiashi screaming in frustration. He crept out of the compound and began moving towards the real challenge, the Uchiha compound. Scene change. Gaara spiraled through the Hokage tower. He opened up the door to the Hokage's personal library. Inside, he found hundreds of scrolls, mostly jutsu scrolls. Lots of them, ranging from genin to kage level in ranking. Gaara grabbed a few of these to add to their collection. He began to look through them for a bit. Suddenly, he realized that this was only part of the Hokage's personal library. So where was the rest? Gaara pushed the question away to pursue later. He scrolled through and found the book he was looking for. It was actually much too advanced for Naruto and Gaara, but they would get around to it. Without warning, the door flew open, and there stood the Hokage. Scene change. Naruto had a lot of trouble with the Uchiha compound. Their guards were much smarter. He couldn't just sneak past them. So he fired senbon with paralysis poison on them into their necks. He sealed Quicksilver into a seal painted on his arm and rushed in. He jumped up onto the roof and went in through a panel that led into the attic. Several times, he had to defuse a booby trap or dodge a poisonous snake. When he did eventually reach the library, he had to set off several smoke bombs around the edge of the compound, drawing every Uchiha's attention. The library was vacated by the Uchiha in it, and Naruto quickly jumped down and began to seal the scrolls away. Next he moved to the armory. While the Hyuga weapons were all white, the Uchiha weapons and armory were all red. All the armor was red and black, and the weapons were red-handled with black blades, or black-handled with red blades. He sealed them away and began to jump up when the door opened. Hey, what are you doing in here? Scene change. Gaara started to move but the Hokage's hands flashed and he yelled, Earth style, Earth freezing jutsu. And his sand froze in place. Sarutobi shook his head. Gaara, if you wanted to borrow some of the scrolls, you could have asked. I'm always willing to help you. Sorry Lord Hokage. Please, he said with a laugh, call me old man. Naruto does and you might as well. Gaara started to smile, but it disappeared. Sarutobi snapped and the sand unfroze. Gaara was wrapped in sand and took off. Sarutobi looked through the scrolls. Hey, you took my favorite jutsu scroll. Scene change. A tall Uchiha with spiky black hair and dark onyx eyes dressed in Anbu armor came in through the door. In his hand was a black Anbu sword, and a fully developed Sharingan spun in his head. This was Itachi Uchiha, Anbu captain, Uchiha clan heir, expected to become the Hokage one day. And one of Naruto's closest friends. Oh, it's you Naruto. Getting weapons for your new puppets? Yeah, and I got the scrolls already. Where would I find your ninja animals? Right across the hall. Just don't take the third raven on the left top row. It's mine. Naruto put the scrolls into his backpack and ran across the halls. I wonder if human puppet creating works on animals. Time skip. Sarutobi lit up his pipe with a sigh. The paperwork was minimal today, so he got done quickly. He began to reach for the new book he had just gotten in the mail from Jiraiya, his former student and famous, adult fiction, writer, when the Hyuga and Uchiha clan heads burst through the door. Lord Hokage, he broke into both of our compounds and took off with all our weapons and scrolls. Yelled Hiashi in outrage. And he stole several of our ninja animals and clan seals. Fugaku slammed his hands on the desk. We want compensation now, Lord Hokage. Hiashi intoned. Sarutobi dropped the pipe on the desk and stood up. The clan heads backed up as the Hokage went around the desk. Mr. Hyuga, Mr. Uchiha, I'm the Hokage. And Naruto Uzumaki is under my protection. You both have plenty of money to replace everything, and besides, after all you've done to him, he owns you nothing. Now leave. The clan heads stare at each other in amazement. They turned around and exited the tower. Sarutobi sighed deeply and leaned back in his chair. He closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them up, the sun was low on the horizon. He sighed and started to close his eyes again. Tough day at the office, old man. Someone suddenly said. Sarutobi opened his eyes and jumped up, a kunai drawn. Oh, he said, it's just you, Naruto. The blonde jumped down from the window sill, landing silently on the ground. What can I help you with? Oh, nothing, I just thought you might like to see my new bloodline puppets. He said as he wiped a bit of blood on a seal. 4 lines of smoke spiraled out of his arm and formed into the 4 would-be assassins. The male Hyuga, Rataru, was dressed in a set of battle armor that morphed into casual robes in a heartbeat. A seal linking the puppet's eyesight to Naruto's was painted on his forehead. White kunai wrapped twice around his waist. A spear was strapped to his back. The female Hyuga, Senna, had the same outfit, only a 3-piece staff was wrapped around her waist, and a chain was wrapped across her shoulder and hip. The same seal was painted on her forehead. The Uchiha female, Hoshimaru, was dressed in black and red robes. A whip was tied to her waist as well as 2 swords. The Sharingan swirled in her eye sockets. Her hands could fire a concentrated line of water that could slice through metal. The male Uchiha, Jinji, was dressed in the same robes, with his Sharingan glowing brightly. A set of metal claws adorned his fingers. Seals were painted inside of him and Hoshimaru that copied everything their eyes saw. Painted on his hands and arms were seals of electricity. A long cable wrapped around a hook inside his chest with a long spike on the end that split into a 4-pronged grappling hook. A scythe was strapped to his back. Those are impressive, Naruto. Just one question. And what would that be? Why did you take my seal books without asking? He blinked in surprise as the wind blew in through the window that had just opened up. Naruto. Get back here this instant or else. Across town, Naruto was activating a chakra shield to protect himself. Naruto didn't go back to the academy till the day of the exam 2 years later. He would have smiled with glee at their shocked faces if he still had his emotions. Everyone stared as he turned in a massive pile of homework. Iruka smiled at Naruto and put the work in a drawer. It's good to see you, Naruto. How have you been? He asked with a smile. I have been very well, Iruka-sensei. He said. Without another word, he turned around and moved over to his seat between Shino Aburame, heir to a clan that used chakra-eating bugs. Naruto nodded to him and he nodded back. Well, Iruka said, addressing the whole class, it's time for the Genin exam today. So today you will have to perform the 3 jutsu we have learned. Naruto paled slightly. He raised his hand to get Iruka's attention. Iruka-sensei, I forgot how to do the jutsu. Every mouth in the room fell open. Iruka was the first to shake it off. What? Naruto, what have you been doing? I've been working on a new, more advanced set of puppets to use. I haven't had time to work on remedial jutsu even these pathetic excuse for ninja could do. He said, ignoring the shocked looks from around the room. The only ninja with potential in this room are the clan heirs, Gaara, I, and Haruno. Naruto, the council says you have to know these fundamental jutsu. I don't get a say in the matter. Just try your best and hope you're lucky. Naruto clamped his jaw with a clack that made the other students jump. He nodded and Iruka pulled out a sheet of paper with the names of every student in the class on it. Okay class, he said, making a few marks on the paper by the names, we'll be going in alphabetical order. You'll go into the back room where Mizuki-sensei and I will be waiting. We will ask you to perform the 3 jutsu and if you can, you will automatically pass. While one of you is testing in the back room, the rest of you will work on a written exam. And after this, we will have a freestyle contest to determine the top member of the class. First up is Shino Aburame. Mizuki passed around a paper, filled with trivial questions about history, geography, math, and jutsu. Naruto easily finished it, because most of it was in the scrolls left by Sasori, or in books he had read to find new puppets. Every few minutes or so, a student would come out either with a headband displayed proudly, or with their head hung down in shame. He calmly waited for the time when his name would be called. He began to draw doodles of puppets he would like to create and eventually wiped it clean with a large eraser. Finally, after the longest hour Naruto had ever endured, Iruka came out of the room. All right, time for the final student, Naruto Uzumaki. Please, come into the back room. Naruto stood up and walked into the room. It was small, with a desk on the back wall with 2 chairs behind it. On the desk was a single headband. Behind the chairs, where Iruka and Mizuki now sat, was a chalkboard. Written on it was transformation, substitution, clone. Okay Naruto, Iruka began, you have to perform each of these jutsu to a satisfactory level. He nodded and Naruto took a deep breath. Thinking of an image, he was surrounded in a cloud of smoke. A moment later, a tall boy of 15 with hair as red as blood dressed in a black robe with red clouds appeared before them. Very good Naruto. And who is this person you transformed into? Iruka asked as Naruto changed back to normal. That was the person I learned the puppet technique from, Sasori of the Red Sand. Iruka and Mizuki looked at each other in suspicion as Iruka checked off the transformation on the board. Without warning, Mizuki threw a kunai at Naruto. In a flash of smoke, the table appeared in the air, and the kunai embedded itself in the wood. Naruto caught the headband that was falling through the air and handed it to Mizuki. Iruka checked off the substitution box and smiled slightly. Alright Naruto, all you have to do is make at least 3 clones, and you pass. Naruto inhaled and began to gather chakra, condensing the flow so the clones would appear correctly. And with a long row of puffs, 8 real-looking, and 1 pale, sickly-looking Naruto, appeared. Iruka happily checked off the clone box and threw Naruto the headband. The blonde tied the headband around his forehead and left the room. He sat back down next to Gaara, who handed him a scroll which held his puppets. Naruto quietly thanked him and sat down, opening up a book detailing all of the most dangerous ninja from each country, their skills, and their weapons and equipment. Well, Iruka said, passing out the tests, grades were very good. The three highest scorers, from lowest to highest, are Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and, surprisingly, Naruto Uzumaki. The class stared at the blonde, who sighed silently and put the book away. Now, if you would all please come out to the training yard, we can have our freestyle contest. The students stood and began to move towards the door, when suddenly, Gaara wrapped Naruto and himself in a sphere and sent them hurtling through the door and through the hallway. Show off. Someone snorted. The class quickly moved to the training ground where they met up with Naruto and Gaara. Iruka brought out a chalkboard with him and he began to write down the names of students, boys and girls, who would fight each other. This is a tournament-style contest. Iruka explained as he drew lines connecting the names together, eliminating one each time, until it came down to one. Winner will receive a very special prize, created by the Hokage himself. A ripple ran through the crowd. The boys began to cockily boast about their skills. Naruto and Gaara listened intently to what they said. Hey, a boy with a dog by him said, can you two losers not do anything or something? He said. The other boys began to laugh with him. Actually, Naruto said, hating the way the boy assumed he was better, we're smart enough not to tell everyone exactly what skills we have in their descriptions. And I'm sure you've heard of us through the grapevine. Nope, never heard of you. He said, shrugging. Hey, you two, Mizuki yelled, pointing at Naruto and the boy. You're up first. The boy jumped into the makeshift ring the teachers had set up. Well, I'm Kiba Inuzuka, and this is my partner Akamaru. The little puppy at his feet barked loudly. And we're gonna kick your ass. Naruto stepped calmly into the ring and pulled out two scrolls. I am Naruto Uzumaki, master puppeteer of Konoha. With two explosions of smoke, Ritaru and Hoshimaru appeared. The students gasped as the Uchiha and Hyuga puppet began to click as their internal mechanics were activated. And you are much too cocky. Begin, yelled Iruka. Instantly, Kiba threw a pill to Akamaru and the little dog caught it. Instantly, his fur turned deep red and he jumped on Kiba's back. The Inuzuka lowered his head into his interlaced hands. When he brought it back up, he had become more canine-like, with longer incisors and long claws. Akamaru exploded in a blast of smoke, becoming a clone of Kiba. Eat this Uzumaki. Double piercing fang. Kiba yelled as he and Akamaru jumped forward, turning into two spiraling tornadoes. They twined in and out of each other, flying through the air towards Naruto. Ritaru landed in front of him and began to flash hand signs. A wall of rock exploded upwards and blocked the two tornadoes. However, the wall began to rock as the tornadoes drilled through. Kiba grinned as the rock gave way. However, as soon as they busted through, Hoshimaru was waiting for them, with several long scythe blades protruding from her body. 8 trigrams. Rotation. Naruto said loud enough for everyone to hear. The puppet began to spin, forming a sphere of chakra around her. The scythe blades spun with her, making it difficult for Kiba to get to Naruto. With a flick of his hand, Naruto sent Hoshimaru after them. The three swirling attacks chased after each other in a wild dance of power. Several times, Hoshimaru sliced through the wind of one of the two Inuzuka and cut them. The Kiba would stumble and quickly restart the attack. Thinking quickly, Naruto had Ritaru perform a few quick hand signs. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. He said. The puppet expelled a stream of flames that ignited Hoshimaru's 8 trigrams. Rotation. Kiba and Akamaru focused solely on fleeing Hoshimaru, forgetting Ritaru. The Uchiha puppet flashed through hand signs and was pulled underground. A moment later, he shot up into the air from beneath Kiba and Akamaru with a tight mesh net that ensnared them instantly. Kiba and Akamaru both spun slightly, dizzy from their own jutsu. Winner. Naruto Uzumaki. Iruka yelled. The class grumbled and clapped slightly as Naruto sealed up the puppets and went back to the sidelines with Gaara. He watched the rest of the fights with interest. Most of the clan heirs won, except for the Yamanaka heir, who was yelling at Sakura Haruno. Gaara ended up facing said girl, knocking her out with a single wave of his hand that sent a blast of sand slamming into her. In his next match, Naruto faced Shikamaru Nara, the heir to a clan that used shadows to control their enemies. Naruto summed out Senna this time. The Uchiha was able to anticipate his moves, thanks to the ocular seal on her eyes that linked her sight to Naruto's, giving him the ability to see through her eyes whenever he wanted to. She broke his hand seals and threw him out of the ring. Gaara faced off against Hinata Hyuga. The hesitant girl was swept up in a wave of sand and spun around and around until she puked. Gaara gently floated her through the window of the infirmary and released her onto the bed. After Gaara's match was Shino versus Choji Akamichi. The Akamichi used his clan jutsu, turning himself into a massive ball, but the Aburame simply jumped into the air and released his bugs. Choji was sucked dry of his chakra in an instant. Sasuke Uchiha fought against Shino in the next round. Shino kept his bugs inside of himself, making it easier for him and his partners to dodge the fireballs Sasuke was unleashing. Several times, Gaara's sand swept around the ring, blocking stray lines of flames that would have hit another student. And Sasuke kept up the jutsu, even as sweat began to pour down his body. He began to sway, and only a quick set of water-style jutsu kept the school from catching on fire. Iruka jumped in and stopped Sasuke. Calm down, Sasuke. You let your anger get the best of you and wasted all of your chakra. Not only that, you almost hurt other people in the process. I'll make sure I tell your future sensei this. He hates that kind of attitude. Sasuke was taken to the infirmary and put to sleep so his chakra would recharge quicker. Meanwhile, Naruto and Gaara were standing in the ring. People were smiling in excitement at seeing these two fight. They were best friends, but they were also the best in the class. Begin, yelled Mizuki. In a big puff of smoke, Quicksilver appeared and was moved into a battle position. Naruto had modified him some more. He now had 4 arms and the chain scythe was missing. He was taller, and each tail had a compartment on near the top on the left and right side and a collapsible tip where a poison-drenched blade could slide out of. Inside each arm was a tank on a rotator that spun to the next when one was emptied. The Sandaime had made them specifically with a seal at the bottom that held fire, water, wind, and lightning. The head now had a third eye on it. It had a seal designed originally by the Yondaime Hokage that cast a beam that allowed the caster to see through the object, called an X-ray seal. Each arm had a built-in katana that extended from a hilt stored inside the arm. And with a simple finger movement, the upper arms and head could combine into a drill. Naruto connected all 10 fingers to it, so as to completely focus on Gaara. The sand rushed forward in a massive tidal wave that was intended to engulf Naruto. However, he began to move his hands in rapid movements and Quicksilver went into action. Flames poured from the palms of each hand and collided with the sand, turning it to glass. The puppet drilled through the sand and rushed Gaara, spewing a concentrated stream of water that sliced through the ground with ease. The Jinchuriki let loose with more waves of sand. Every time, Naruto would counter the move with some kind of hidden trap. That was until Gaara brought all of his sand down on top of the puppet. Naruto could no longer operate the joints, because Gaara had filled them with sand. So he abandoned it and moved on to jutsu. He flashed through hand signs and took in a huge breath of air. Dual elemental style. Wind and fire drill. He yelled. Instantly, a massive spiraling drill of burning air fired towards Gaara and he refocused all his sand to blocking it. The other students and the teachers were captivated by the battle, unable to look away for an instant. Give up, Naruto, you're going to lose. Gaara told him as his sand pushed back. You aren't thinking clearly, Gaara. You should have destroyed Quicksilver when you had the chance. Naruto said. Gaara turned, only to find the puppet gone, a large hole in its place. Suddenly, a blast of lightning exploded upwards and Quicksilver appeared, his tails poised to kill Gaara with the 27 swords extended, the poison dripping to the ground and eating away at it. The drill of air and fire exploded, sending sand everywhere. Gaara stepped back, his hands in the air. I give in. Naruto has proven he can kill me at his will. Everyone stared in amazement as Naruto withdrew Quicksilver, sealing him into a tattoo in his arm. Iruka smiled as he handed Naruto a ring made of black metal, inscribed with seals. Naruto, this is a ring forged by the Hokage himself. It uses your chakra for 3 purposes. 1. You can use it to form a chakra shield around yourself, at the cost of chakra. 2. It comes with 3 matching rings, that don't have the first or third ability, that can act as radio communication devices. And 3. It can contain chakra that you can then use, with any chakra you want to put into it, to fire a concentrated beam of chakra. Naruto slid the ring onto his right index finger. He exhaled and spun around to face a target. The chakra gathered around the ring and fired through the target, ripping a large hole through the middle. He nodded to himself and slid the hand into his pocket. In a puff of smoke, he disappeared, reappearing on the roof of the apartment building where he was attacked. A hallway was suspended between the building and the 4 around them, and each of those was connected by a similar connection. Puppets moved in and out of the building, keeping up the buildings and protecting the area. This would become the clan compound once he finally started a family. Until then, it was the perfect place to build puppets, practice jutsu, store weapons, and practice seals. He jumped over to the building facing the south, and into the building. Each building was facing the direction that their reason corresponded with. South was for the seals. Naruto pulled out the ring from the Hokage and began to study the item. He placed it on a special seal that showed a hologram of the ring dissected. He began to copy down the diagram so he could recreate it, or something like it, later on. Naruto slipped the ring back onto his finger and moved through the buildings to the east building, used to create his puppets. For the rest of the day, he worked on creating his newest puppets. He finished an hour before sunset, and spent the next 3 hours practicing with them. As soon as he had sealed them into the new seal on his arm, the Hokage arrived. Naruto, have you been here this whole time? Hearing the desperation in the Hokage's voice, Naruto nodded. I just finished my new puppets. Why? What's wrong? Someone stole the forbidden scroll from my office while I was away. The civilians and a lot of ninja are blaming you. Naruto's eyes narrowed. I have video footage of being here. They can't blame me, he said as he pulled an empty scroll over to him with a chakra string. I'm going to search for the scroll. I'll make sure to report to you as soon as I do. The Hokage nodded before he disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Naruto took off across the village as fast as possible. He pumped chakra into his legs and jumped as high as he could, making the roof of the house he was on collapse slightly. He soared high enough to see over the wall and pulled out a special pair of binoculars. He found what he was looking for and dashed through the air with a burst of chakra. Mizuki and Iruka were fighting, each throwing weapons at each other. Strapped to Mizuki's back was the massive forbidden scroll. He pulled one of the massive shuriken off of his back and hurled it at the other man. Iruka spun, barely dodging the attack, and returned the attack with a fireball jutsu. Mizuki jumped over it and threw another giant shuriken. Iruka jumped back to dodge the giant shuriken, only to be pinned to the tree by several fast-moving kunai. You didn't really think you had a chance, did you, Iruka? Mizuki asked as he spun the last of the shuriken on his finger. Iruka tried to pull the kunai out, only to discover each one had an explosive note wrapped around the handle. Pull it out, it goes off. Mizuki, you bastard, why are you doing this? Iruka demanded. Why? Mostly because I was ordered to do so by Master Orochimaru, but partly so I can kill you. He let the shuriken go and laughed as it flew towards Iruka. The academy teacher saw his life flash before his eyes and closed them quickly. He waited for the pain, but it never came. Instead, he opened his eyes and saw the shuriken had been stopped by several small blue strings, going off into the forest. It was pulled in, followed closely by the other two. Iruka-sensei, are you okay? Asked Naruto as he landed next to Iruka. Other than the exploding kunai, I'm good. Iruka said, gesturing towards the explosives. Naruto snorted and pulled all of them out at once with chakra strings, sending them back towards Mizuki. The traitor activated, but the smoke gave Naruto just what he wanted, time. Naruto quickly unsealed his 3 new puppets. As the smoke cleared, Iruka and Mizuki gawked at them in amazement. Mizuki, Iruka-sensei, feel honored. You are the first to see my newest puppets. Meet Desolation, Retribution, and Genocide. The first puppet, Desolation, was a tall puppet, with a shield on each arm, in the shape of clock gears. 8 silvery tentacles, made from a flexible liquid metal that formed into any shape or hardened at Naruto's will, waved back and forth, protruding from the puppet's back. The chest could open up and close, and since it was made with metal, when the electricity from the seals on its hands touched it, it electrified anyone inside. Its hands could fire small orbs of poison with exploding notes wrapped around them from its fingertips, and a wakizashi hung from both hips. The second puppet, Retribution, was special, in the sense that it had 2 different forms. The current mode was humanoid, with 4 arms that each fired a poison-drenched spearhead on a long cable. A broad sword was strapped on each side of his back, and the chest opened up to reveal a barrel that spun, firing out Senbon, Shuriken, and kunai at amazing speeds. 2 pipes extended from each shoulder blade and over the shoulders, and they both held 3 canisters at their source, containing 3 dangerous and fatal poisons. The final puppet, Genocide, was the most powerful and threatening-looking of all. Instead of legs, a long scale-covered trunk that spanned 6 feet, 4 feet to the ground, 2 feet extra, was attached to the waist. 2 black wings with gold streaks through them expanded outwards from its back. Inside of it was a seal, which held several large tanks full of propane and other combustible material. A hose led from the seal to the arms, where a set of flame-throwers could expand from the palms. Only Genocide's was more powerful than any flame-thrower Naruto had ever added to a puppet, because it used more material to create it, was made by a famous weapons crafter, and ran through an enhancing seal. The flames were as powerful as a high A-, low S rank fire jutsu. Not only that, but the puppet could control the fire, condensing it or shaping it. Inside each feather on the wings and scale on the trunk was a seal that ignited the object and caused it to explode on impact when it was released from the wing or trunk, and several advanced self-activating storage seals that replaced the lost feathers and scales in an instant Naruto had gotten from the Hokage lay beneath them. Naruto had placed an amp behind a sound amplification seal array that he had ordered from the famous seal master Jiraiya, allowing it to create a sonic screech at Naruto's will. Genocide had been in the making ever since he had finished Quicksilver, so it had a lot of powerful features. It took Naruto all of the 4 years since he and Gaara had left Suna to finish it. Of course, he was currently working on plans for even more powerful puppets. But until then, Genocide was Naruto's tanking puppet. Naruto's chakra strings connected to each of the puppets, and he smiled evilly as Genocide lifted into the air. Desolation drew his swords from his hips, and Retribution opened up the holes in his hand and let the spears wiggle out and twist around in the air, ready for use. Genocide activated his flamethrower, making 2 small tubes extend from his palms. Naruto made a mental note to remove the canisters from his other puppets and add them to the puppet. Mizuki smirked as he began to flash through hand signs. A dark purple chakra began to swirl angrily around him. I was able to view part of the scroll before Iruka found me. And with my photographic memory, I remember all the seals. Add to that I have a seal designed to increase my strength and chakra, and I'm invincible. Now then, he said as he began to slow his hands, die you brat. He said. He slammed both fists into the tree and roots engulfed him. Forbidden Jutsu. Nature Demon Jutsu. The monster that was once Mizuki roared. The creature was made of wood, with purple flames where the eyes should be. It was in the shape of a gargoyle, without the wings, with long sharp claws. He roared and vines exploded from his body, rushing towards Naruto. The blonde puppeteer moved his hands slightly and all three puppets attacked. Genocide let loose with a waterfall of flame. Desolation's left shield expanded and began to spin, blocking the roots, and Retribution sent all four spears hurtling towards Mizuki. The teacher sent more and more attacks out, but what he didn't realize was a clone of Naruto had snuck up behind him and swiped the scroll. The clone disappeared into the forest, under orders to copy the scroll down. Naruto pulled the puppets back and began to talk to the former teacher. Mizuki, that jutsu is forbidden because eventually, the vines will pierce you, killing you, and the body will run rampant, unless you are killed. Not only that, but it drains amazing amounts of chakra. Give up now. Either way you'll die. But I'll make it quick. The creature froze suddenly. It began to shudder, and the creature withdrew until the only reminder was Mizuki's left arm, which retained the shape. The teacher smirked, but it was obvious the jutsu was draining almost all of his chakra. Do you know why the village hates you, Naruto? Do you want to know why they hate you so? Mizuki, no, it is forbidden, yelled Iruka, but Mizuki ignored him and continued on. It's because Konoha's greatest story is a lie. The fourth didn't kill the fox, no human can. Instead, he sealed it into a child, Naruto. And you are that child. You are the nine-tailed fox. Mizuki yelled, and he began to laugh. A kunai embedded itself in the trunk of the tree he was standing on and exploded. Mizuki growled as he landed, unharmed, on another tree. You idiot Mizuki. I met the fox once before. And if he had control, he would have used the puppets to kill every civilian and ninja in this pathetic village and turn them into a puppet themselves. Then, with that kind of army amassed, he would go on to conquer Fire Country and turn everyone in it into his slaves. With the use of the puppets, he would destroy everyone and take over the world. I just want to kill Sasori of the Red Sand, and by then I will not need this pathetic village any longer. Mizuki and Iruka paled as chakra began to gather around Naruto in a massive swirling dome. The chakra flooded into the puppets, which began to glow as well. And now I give you the final act of my puppet performance. Try puppet style. Fallen Angel Poison Bombardment. The tentacles on Desolation's back connected to Retribution and Genocide. The two massive clock gears expanded and connected, waiting to spin. Genocide flew into the air, his wings spread wide with the feathers primed and his scales slanted so the bottom lifted away, both ready to fall, while 4 holes opened in its back. Retribution's spears began to glow and hum with electricity, and the pipes readied to release their poison. The spears flew upwards, inserting themselves into the holes in Genocide's back, sending the electricity coursing over the scales and feathers. Retribution pulled itself into the air as Desolation's gears began to spin at an incredible speed. The feathers and scales shot out, followed by 4 more waves, as Retribution's pipes extended and unleashed its poison. The gears separated, and they spun so fast they made funnels that surrounded the poison, making sure none it was let loose and wasted, while cutting off Mizuki's escape at the same time. It had taken a lot of time and money for Naruto to dream up this technique and buy the parts for it. So when it worked so well, he was extremely happy. Naruto made sure the attack killed Mizuki, but it was mainly for Iruka's sake and to test the technique. A feather landed at his feet and the electricity formed a shield around him. A piece of shrapnel went through his head and into his brain stem, killing him. A clone rushed in quickly and grabbed the body before Iruka could see it. For some reason Naruto didn't want Iruka to see him make Mizuki into a puppet. And he didn't have the right tools for said operation. The clone from earlier replaced the large scroll while the smoke was in place. Once it cleared, Desolation, Retribution and Genocide were sealed away. Naruto walked over to Iruka and pulled him to his feet. Naruto, that was amazing. Iruka yelled, causing Naruto to flinch and grab his ears. I'm right here, sensei, you don't need to yell. He said. Iruka rubbed the back of his head sheepishly as Naruto pulled the forbidden scroll over to him with a chakra string. Here, take this back to the Hokage and tell him what happened, he said as he turned and prepared to leap through the tree. Naruto, where are you going? Naruto turned to Iruka with tired eyes. Home, Iruka-sensei, to rest. That attack took a huge amount of chakra. I'm almost dry. Iruka paled at the prospect. But your chakra reserves are massive. Exactly. Which is the only reason I was able to use the attack in the first place. It takes too much time and chakra to use against a real danger, but for someone like Mizuki, it's an easy way to test my new puppets a few hours after completion. Now, if you would excuse me. He shot through the trees, towards his apartment building, thinking of how useful his new puppets were. His thoughts began to wander to the Uchiha puppets. What would those two be like if they didn't have normal Sharingans, but the legendary Mangekyo Sharingan? Only one way to find out, Naruto thought to himself. But first, he would rest. Then he would figure out how to trick two Uchiha into killing their best friends and how to take their eyes from them. Naruto loved this feeling, the calm that came through him as he worked with his puppets. The silent sound of his puppets clicking filled the compound as he removed the tanks containing elements and poison from the other puppets before adding them to retribution and genocide. He felt the compound shudder and made another mental note to make several more basic battle puppets. He had made a custom puppet hand that controlled several puppets at once and placed it in the dojo that was the basement. He made several basic battle puppets and let Gaara train with them. He finished changing out the tanks and began to tinker with the three constructs, fine-tuning the internal mechanisms. Then he pulled out Quicksilver and his 4 human puppets. He stared at the 8 puppets, and began to wonder how he was going to be able to control them and any other puppets he obtains later on and still fight himself. That was always the greatest weakness of a puppet master. He resealed them quickly and opened up a book entitled A History of Summoning Contracts and began to read. He finished the book a few hours later and threw it randomly onto the bookshelf. He realized that soon they would need to buy a new one if they didn't want to start leaving the scrolls and books on the floor. As Naruto was walking down the hallway to his room, he spotted his reflection in the full-length mirror hanging from the wall. He still had the annoying orange jumpsuit he always wore, and it was beginning to get too small. He moved over to the wall where an intercom was waiting to be used. He pressed the button that activated the link between this intercom and the one below him in the dojo where Gaara was training. Gaara, this is Naruto. I'm going out to buy some new outfits from the shop. I'll be back in a few hours. He jumped out of the window and through the air. Seeing a chance to try a new jutsu, Naruto flashed through hand seals and watched in satisfaction as the air around his feet condensed and hardened, forming a board beneath him. He began to steer it towards the center of the village. He took note of the adrenaline coursing through his veins, the feel of the wind on his face, the yell of excitement he couldn't hold back, as he flipped in the air several times. He dove down into the village streets, shocking the villagers and shinobi that saw him. He came to a halt in front of the biggest ninja store in Konoha, the Wolf Claw, which he and Gaara had owned for the past 2 years. The jutsu faded away and he fell to the ground, landing in a slight crouch. The bell above the door rang once as he entered. The shop owner, a man named Tenshi, who had short black hair and brown eyes, smiled at him and yelled into the back, "Tenten, Izuma, Mr. Uzumaki is here to see us. Bring out his order from the back." Before waving Naruto over. "What can I help you with today, Naruto? I was looking in the mirror earlier, and I realized that I need new clothes. I figured I may as well come pick up my order from you as long as I need to do some shopping. It didn't cost you too much, I hope," he said as he pulled out 3 large wads of bills and put them on the counter. "Not too much. The main cost came from transportation. If someone had got a hold of these items, they could destroy an entire army. So naturally we had to hire a large amount of samurai and ninja to guard it. And we had to pay them extra so they would willingly stay in the dark. Of course, Considering the amount of pieces, it's no surprise. But this should cover it, he said as he took the 3 wads. Naruto sighed and gave him 2 more wads. That sounds like a lot of work on your part. And use the extra to upgrade your house in the store, Naruto said as Tenchi smiled happily and slipped the 2 wads in with the 3 others. A few moments later, a woman stepped out from the back. She had long black hair, green eyes, and was dressed in Anbu gear. She wrapped her arms around Tenchi's neck and kissed him on the cheek. Tenchi smiled as a blush crept up on his face. Izuma, so good to see you. As beautiful as ever I see, Naruto said. The woman smiled and let go of her husband. It's good to see you too, Naruto. Did I hear you say you needed some new clothes? Naruto nodded and her face lit up. Well then, allow me to help you. Before she came around the counter, she leaned into the doorway and yelled, "Ten, hurry it up in there." Naruto rubbed his temples as he and Izuma walked towards the clothes section, while Tenchi went in the back to help his daughter. For the next 40 minutes, Izuma made him try on outfit after outfit while making 2 piles, one for clothes he would buy, one for clothes she rejected. At the end of the 40 minutes, Naruto was smiling slightly at his reflection in the mirror. The orange jumpsuit had been taken by Izuma into the back where she said she was going to make a modification to it. Naruto made sure he took the swirl symbol off of the jacket first though. Now, he was wearing a short-sleeved gray with a trench coat the color of dried blood that had several pockets and places for scrolls. Since it was designed for ninja, it had a storage seal sewn into the inside on either side, large enough for one weapon, so a ninja could put a sword or axe or scythe inside of it, and if they got in a jam they could summon it and surprise their enemy. He also had on a pair of loose ninja pants that didn't cling to his legs, and instead of the traditional ninja sandals, Izuma had gotten him a pair of steel-toed boots. On his arms were 2 metal bracers with his signature symbol carved into them, courtesy of Izuma's special chakra affinity to metal. Well, don't you look handsome? Izuma said from behind him. Naruto turned, and a massive sweat drop appeared on the back of his head when he saw she had put the jumpsuit on a cross made from 2 thin branches and painted a bull's eye on the front and back. She smiled when she saw him looking at it. You have no idea how many people hate this thing. So I'm gonna put it in the middle of the village and you're gonna set it on fire. Naruto's sweat drop had disappeared, but quickly reappeared at the explanation. Is my order ready yet, Izuma? He asked, hoping she would put the thing down. She nodded and carried it with her, much to Naruto's chagrin, to the front counter on her shoulder. Waiting for Naruto were 3 neatly arranged pyramids of scrolls, 10 in each. Naruto pulled out a scroll, unrolled it, and swung it as he channeled chakra through the paper. The storage scroll on the end of the paper swallowed the pyramids as soon as it came in contact with them. Naruto re-rolled the scroll and put it away. Now, let's head to the village center and burn this thing. Izuma yelled, while Naruto slapped his face. He followed Izuma to the center of the village where hundreds of civilians were watching them as she dug the cross into the ground. Naruto sighed as she announced what was about to happen and a crowd formed. Well, if they wanted a show, Naruto would just have to give them one. He flashed through hand signs and took a huge breath. Fire style, his voice sounded from everywhere, but nowhere, Grand Phoenix Assault Jutsu. The jutsu was high level, and took a lot of chakra, but by doing this, Naruto was gaining the favor of the villagers. He didn't really want it, but if they liked him, they wouldn't attack his compound and interrupt his puppet construction. A massive stream of fire flowed through the air like water, wrapping itself around the jumpsuit. It spiraled up above the orange article and suddenly turned into a large bird. The crowd cheered with excitement as the creature turned and hit the jumpsuit. The thing began to burn slowly, feeding the crowd's excitement as each string was turned to ash. Suddenly, the phoenix reappeared and swallowed the jumpsuit whole with a mighty screech. The crowd cheered as Naruto bowed to each. He formed the hand signs and was lifted upwards into the air by the wind board. The civilians gawked as he turned to leave. However, before he could, a girl he recognized came running through the crowd towards him. She wore traditional ninja pants, with a pink Chinese shirt and her black hair tied into 2 buns on her head. In her hand was a bag. She ran over to Naruto and lifted it up to him. "You forgot to get your clothes, Naruto." "Thanks, Tenten. I'll see you later," he said, before he shot off towards the compound, not noticing the blush that formed on her face. Her mother stepped up behind her and smiled. "Tenten, you're no longer allowed to see Naruto. I don't want to be a grandma early in life." "Mom." When Naruto arrived, he found Gaara, the owners of Ichiraku Ramen and the Hokage drinking tea while sitting on the couch. "Ah, Naruto, just who we wanted to see," the Hokage said as he set down his cup. "Could I see your headband for a moment, please?" he asked. Naruto untied the headband from his forehead, slightly confused, and handed it to the old man, who pulled out a sealing scroll. "Gaara, could I see yours too, please?" The redhead handed the headband over quietly. The Hokage put both of them on the storage seal and in a puff of smoke they were gone. "Those headbands can go to some genin next year." As soon as the words left his mouth, Gaara and Naruto stood up and began to yell in outrage. "What the hell, old man? I saved the forbidden scroll from a traitor and the village takes away my ninja status. And what has Gaara done to anyone to deserve this? Would you both please just sit down for half a damn second?" The Hokage yelled back. The 2 Jinchuriki did as they were asked with a few words grumbled under their breath. "Now, as I tried to say, after considering everything I've seen from you two, your abilities, your strength, your knowledge, your control over your demons, and also considering your potential, I have decided to invoke an old law." The Jinchuriki prepared for the worst as the Hokage reached into his pocket. "I'm making you two my personal ninja." And he pulled out 2 completely different headbands. One had a long orange cloth that when tied would reach down to the person's shoulders. On the plate was the Konoha symbol inside of Naruto's signature swirl pattern with 9 tail-like indentions circling it. The other had a shorter, brown piece of cloth that went to the bottom of the person's head and a Konoha symbol about to be swallowed by a Shukaku paw. He handed the brown one to Gaara, and the orange one to Naruto. "From this point on, you two only take orders from me, not from anyone else. You are above the rules as long as you wear these headbands. No one can stop you as long as you aren't committing treason." "Lord Hokage," Gaara put in, "won't making the 2 of us your personal ninja make the graduating class uneven and cause a 2-man team?" "Yes, it would, normally, but a young girl named Hanabi Hyuga is 1 year behind you, and she is quite good. So good that she has graduated early, and will be taking the spot Gaara would have taken." Satisfied with the answer, Naruto and Gaara put the headbands on and sat back down on the couch. "As for us," the old ramen chief said, "we came to tell you that we have to leave the village for a month to go to the annual Land of Fire Ramen Super Cook-Off. We have a good chance of winning this year. We would bring you along, but now that you're a ninja, you'll have missions to do. So, the shop is going to be closed for a month?" Naruto asked. The Hokage was surprised to hear the sadness in the boy's voice. "It may seem dumb, if you think that he's only sad because he won't get ramen, but the Sandaime knew the man and his daughter were one of Naruto's 5 precious people, himself, Gaara, and Iruka being the others. To him it was like losing his uncle and sister." The Sandaime smiled sadly at the fact Naruto still had enough emotion to care. "Well, yes, but I got you this," he said, pulling out a box of Pocky. "A very good friend of mine makes Pocky and I asked him to make you a special, ramen flavor, box. He made you 30 boxes, and it should taste exactly like my ramen," he said, throwing Naruto a box and a scroll his friend had so generously sealed the others into. Naruto pulled out one of the biscuit sticks and took a bite. He finished it off in seconds. Before he could grab another, Gaara's sand flew forward and wrapped around his hand. "Save them, Naruto. They'll be for special occasions." Naruto nodded and the sand withdrew. Instantly, the blonde was stuffing his face with the candy. Gaara jumped on him, trying to wrestle the box from his hands, only for Naruto to kick him off. He unsealed all of his puppets and ordered all nearby security puppets to attack, while yelling out, "You will no touch the precious." The Sandaime jumped up and hit both of them in pressure points, blocking off their chakras from their control. Naruto's puppets clattered to the ground useless, and the earth-style jutsu Gaara was about to use was dispelled. Naruto, no more Paki for a while, okay? You aren't getting any more of this stuff. Naruto reluctantly handed over the sweet to the Hokage. The old man then handed it to Gaara, who hid it away in his pocket, which he then sealed with several layers of sand. Naruto stared longingly at it as the taste of the first stick lingered in his mouth. Now then, he said as the Ichiraku family left, the two of you are to report to my office tomorrow for your first mission. Yes, Lord Hokage, they said, bowing to the leader of the village. As soon as the man left, Naruto jumped on the redhead again. Scene change. Across town, two Chunin-ranked ninja were sitting in a bar, each with a cup of sake in his hand. Both of them were trying to drink away the memories of the night they attacked the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, Naruto, and watched him slaughter all the civilians with them. He was brutal yet at the same time effective and quick. For some reason though, he had spared them, and ever since, they would go back to that night every time they closed their eyes for more than a second. Hey, Kokotsu, you know what we should do? Asked one of them, a man with long black hair. His headband was opened, covering the top part of his head. He gulped down the sake with the zealous of a man that had been in the desert for weeks. No, Azumo, I don't know, and I don't want to know. Kokotsu, a man with spiky black hair with a bandage over his nose, replied. He grabbed the bottle and downed the contents quickly. Well, too bad, because you're going to find out. Azumo told him. I think we should go apologize to the Uzumaki kid for what we did. Kokotsu stopped with his cup of sake halfway to his mouth. And what makes you think he won't kill us on sight? I don't know if he will or not. But I do know that it's the right thing to do, and I'm going over there whether you decide to come with me or stay here and get stone drunk as usual. The Chunin said before standing up and leaving the bar. Kokotsu sighed before getting up and following him. They jumped from rooftop to rooftop, until finally they arrived at the compound. As soon as they were within 100 feet of the building, puppets came pouring out of the building. They surrounded the two Chunin, who simply stood and waited for the blonde Jinchuriki who was walking through the crowd of puppets. I remember you too, Naruto said once he and Gaara arrived. Quicksilver's attack missed the day I began making human puppets and I used you to spread the word about my compound. What could you possibly want here? We want to apologize for that night. Azumo said. We got caught up in the villagers' propaganda because of how drunk we got. We're sorry for what we did. We just thought you should know that. Naruto and Gaara stared at each other, digesting the news. Naruto snapped and the puppets disappeared back into the compound. Kokotsu and Azumo relaxed when he did this. Get off of this property. What's done is done. The two Jinchuriki walked back into the compound, leaving two shocked Chunin. Said Chunin both turned and moved back to the bar. Scene change. Naruto and Gaara stood before the council and the Hokage, awaiting their orders. Naruto, Gaara, the Hokage said, we have been experiencing several problems of late with the Kagaya clan. They tried to destroy Kurigakure, the village hidden in the mist, a few years back. Unfortunately, or rather fortunately, they failed, but they weren't wiped out. Orochimaru came and took their strongest warrior, a boy named Kimimaro. With him, but 20 male members and 60 female members of the clan still live, and they are now in the Land of Fire, only 10 miles from here. We don't want to take the chance of them trying the same thing with us. Your mission is to go wipe out the Kagaya and dispose of their bodies in the most beneficial way possible. Leave the females alive if you can help it. This is a mid-B rank mission. Do you accept? The Hokage asked, holding out the mission scroll for them. In reply, Naruto took the scroll, and they disappeared in a blast of wind, sand, and leaves. Sarutobi, how dare you? Yelled his female teammate, Kaharu. You know the boy is going to turn the corpses into his puppets. Yes, I do know that. I told them, but I missed his birthday last year, so I owned him a present. He enjoyed the shocked looks on the council members' faces as he left the room. Scene change. Sasuke held his arm as he limped down the street, pain rushing through him with each step. His new sensei was brutal, some man named Kakashi Hatake, and he had just given them a test to see if they were worthy or not. He had beaten the crap out of him, Sakura Haruno, and Hanabi Hyuga, who, even though their clans were rivals, he instantly decided he didn't hate when she knocked out Sakura when she almost gave away their position. He smiled when he saw Naruto, the stupid blonde kid who had just showed up and outclassed him in the academy, walking down the street, holding a scroll open while scanning it. Sasuke dashed forward and stole it quickly. Hey Uzumaki, what you got here? Drawings for your new dolls. He laughed at his own joke before looking down at the scroll. His eyes widened and he stared at Naruto and Gaara in amazement. Naruto took the scroll and rolled it back up. Is something wrong, Sasuke Uchiha? Naruto asked, sliding the scroll into his pocket. The council is sending you two to wipe out the Kagaya clan. Even the Uchiha have trouble with them. Sasuke yelled, much to his own chagrin when he realized he had just insulted his clan and himself. Well, the Hokage is. We get all our assignments from him and answer no one but him. Now if you would excuse us, Naruto said, pushing Sasuke out of their way, we need to get supplies for this mission. Sasuke's hands turned to fist and his knuckles turned white. He jumped on the rooftops, rushing towards his home. His father would want to hear of this new development. Scene change. Naruto and Gaara rushed through the trees towards the Kagaya camp. Naruto had a book opened which detailed the clan's abilities. It seems that the Kekkei Genkai only appears in certain people, so kill anyone who doesn't exhibit the ability. Calm down, Naruto. I know what to do. Gaara said. Naruto nodded before spinning in the air, unsealing desolation, retribution and genocide from their seals. The puppets followed them through the woods for another 3 minutes before they found a large clearing. Gaara and Naruto could hear the moans of women being forced to have sex. Both their eyes narrowed as Naruto sent genocide into the air and had him set one of the buildings on fire. Retribution changed into the second form Naruto had designed into it, a massive lion, with 2 snake tails, a wolf head on the chest, and 2 wings of fire sprouting from the back. From each of its leg, a cannon sprouted and fired bursts of super hot steam, melting anything in its path. Desolation rushed through the camp, his gears spinning as lightning flew off of them. It didn't take long for the man to come out to investigate. Gaara turned to Naruto as he withdrew his puppets with a questioning gaze. Something just dawned on me, Naruto. How are you supposed to turn them into puppets when the bodies of puppets are wooden and any bones sprouting would destroy the body? There is 3 ways to make a human puppet. I just have to implore a different one from usual. He said right before they jumped into the center of the camp, drawing all the attention. Naruto pulled his 3 puppets in close to him. Alright, who here possesses the dead bone pulse ability? 2 men stepped forwards, twins dressed in foreign armor with short green hair. I am Yen, one said. And I am Yang, the other told them. We were in a foreign country at the time of the attack, or we would have helped destroy the mist. Yen explained. Naruto noticed Yen had blue eyes while Yang had brown eyes. This would make them easier to tell apart when he used them. Naruto smirked as his 5 other puppets appeared. Gaara, crush the useless ones. I've got these too. Gaara's sand flew past Yen and Yang before they could say anything and swallowed the other men. Gaara clenched his hand for a second and blood exploded from the 18 sand cocoons of sand that had started to levitate in the air behind them. Before either of the shocked men could say anything, Retribution shot forward and opened its lion mouth, exhaling a massive blast of poison gas into their faces. They both inhaled the poison by accident. Instantly they began to sway back and forth, and they started to feel lightheaded. Naruto sealed the puppets away before slicing the two men's throats. He sealed them away and began to explore the camp. He found several crude weapons, as well as a massive scroll containing the clan library. They found several large attack dogs that for some reason took a liking to the two Jinchuriki, so they decided to let them come live at the compound. And then they found the women. There were 60 of them, just like the Hokage had said. Each was dressed either in rags or nude. All of them had obedience seals painted around their necks, binding them to the Kagaya clan. Fortunately for them, the seals would be easy to break for a person of Naruto's level. Ladies, Naruto said, getting their attention, the Kagaya clan is no more. You are free to go. The girls looked at him in amazement. He squinted, and realized they also had muting seals on their tongues, so they couldn't speak. Oh, I see. Please, hold still. Gaara watched in interest as Naruto painted a large diagram on the ground around the slave girls. He drew several lines leading to a circle around them. When it was finished, he flashed through hand seals and punched the ground. The seal lit up the surrounding area, and the girls grasped their throats. Then they scratched at their necks. Finally, they doubled over as if punched in the stomach. What have you done? A woman, the obvious leader, asked. I removed the two seals and terminated your pregnancies. If that was what you wanted. The seal looked inside of you and made the choice for you off of the information it gleaned from your subconscious. He said as they began to leave. Please, wait just one moment. The leader said. Naruto sighed before turning around and looking her up and down. She was dressed in shinobi clothes, ripped between her legs and chest showing her privates. But Naruto was looking her in the face, at her full red lips, her beautiful blonde hair, her cerulean eyes. My name is Hato Kare. I'm also the only girl here to never had been violated because of my strong will, and the elected leader of these girls. Naruto stared at her for a moment. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and this is my friend Gaara. We are ninja of the current Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, come to wipe out the Kagaya clan so they won't grow powerful again and try to destroy Konoha. That is where we will be going once we have finished looking through the camp. He said, forming a hand sign. Instantly, 30 solid, substantial Narutos appeared and ran off in different directions. Please, Hato begged, let us come with you. Most of us are shinobi who have had our chakra sealed away. All we need is some Kagaya blood and we'll be ninja again. We can't go back to our families, the Kagaya killed them all. Please, let us come with you. Naruto sighed before nodding. Come on then. And here, he said, throwing them two scrolls that rolled open and let out two piles of clothes. These are some clothes that should fit you. Put them on while Gaara and I get enough blood to wipe away all of your seals. The women thanked Naruto before they quickly put the clothes on. Scene change. Fugaku tapped his fingers on the desk. His son Sasuke had brought him some very interesting information. He would have to figure out a way to kill the two Jinchuriki without the Hokage realizing that it was the Uchiha clan. A smile split over the head of the Uchiha clan as an idea formed in his head. Itachi, please come in here. He said, loud enough for the people on the other side of the sliding door to hear. Yes, father, what do you need? Itachi asked as he entered, garbed in his Anbu armor. I need you to do me a favor. Go to the village hidden in the mist, Kurigakure, and tell the Mizukage, Yagura, that I want to hire 2 assassins to kill Naruto Uzumaki for us, and that they are to not reveal who hired them under any circumstance. Would you like me to request any particular assassin's father? Fugaku's smile grew wider. Yes, if you would, ask for Mei and Fubi Terumi. Scene change. Naruto, Gaara, and the group of women arrived at the gates of Konoha, where Izumo and Kokutsu were stationed. When the two Chunin saw Naruto, Their faces fell. As they were stamping their papers, Naruto sighed, and said, "Fine, I forgive. If it came down to it, I would have bought into that propaganda too after hearing it for so long." The two Chunin smiled and finished stamping the papers. "I'll take the girls to the compound, Naruto. You turn in the mission, okay?" Naruto nodded before disappearing in a swirl of golden flames. "Show off." Gaara mumbled as the girls squealed in amazement. Naruto appeared in the middle of a council meeting. He handed the Hokage the mission scroll and momentarily unsealed the bodies of Yin and Yang for them. "Good job, Naruto," the old man said, handing Naruto a scroll full of money. "But I'm sorry to say we have another mission for you. Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, Hanabi Hyuga, and Kakashi Hatake are in trouble. They took what was considered a C rank mission, only to be attacked by an A-rank criminal, Zabuza Momochi. They drove him off, but Kakashi has chakra exhaustion. We need you and Gaara to travel to Wave Country to help them guard the bridge builder Tazuna until his bridge is done." Naruto took the mission scroll from him and nodded. "Just let me drop off some of my puppets and begin the process of turning these two into puppets. I also need 60 headbands." Sarutobi's eyebrow flew up. "Well, turns out all the Kagaya women were slaves who were once shinobi. They're living at the compound now, and I need headbands for them." A smile split over Sarutobi's face. "I'll have them sent over for you. But please hurry, Naruto." The blonde nodded before being engulfed in the golden flames. Scene change. Naruto landed in his living room. He threw the scroll to Gaara while he went over to the puppet compound to begin the transformation on Yin and Yang. 4 hours later, he was ready to go. He and Gaara shot out of the window and dashed through the village. They didn't stop to open the gate, instead opting to jump straight over it. They shot down the road before Gaara surrounded them in an orb of sand that sent them shooting through the sky like a cannonball. They landed at a small town a few hours later, where they rented a small boat to take them to Wave. They stared at the massive bridge spanning the water towards the town. "So that's Tazuna's bridge, huh?" "Yes, it is. If Tazuna manages to finish that bridge, Wave's economy will start to boom again, and Gato's chokehold on the country will be destroyed," the boat driver explained to them. Once they got across the water, they paid him 10 times his normal fee to thank him, and ran to the large 3-story house where the others were waiting for them. Naruto knocked on the door, and a beautiful-looking woman answered the door. Naruto put on a fake smile. "Hello there, Mrs. I'm Naruto and this is Gaara. We're here to assist the ninja here in protecting your father." "Oh, you're the reinforcements the ninja called for. Please, come right on in." They came inside the house, examining it. There were holes in the walls and the paint was peeling. The food used to make the dinner was basic stuff, and the carpeting was old. Naruto sighed and pulled out a brush, ink pot, and some spare puppets. "Gaara, check out the house. I'm going to set up some security puppets," he said as he jumped into 2 of the corners of the room. He painted the same seals he had in his compound and attached a spare puppet hand while setting his puppet in the corner and casting a minor genjutsu on it. He repeated this 5 times on the next 2 floors, and put 3 on the top of the roof of the house. Then he jumped back down to the 1st floor and sent out a pulse of chakra to activate the puppets. "Ah, Naruto, so good of you to join us," Kakashi called out. Naruto nodded and sat down next to Gaara. He ate a small plate before turning to the one-eyed Junin. "So what do your students know thus far?" "Well, Sakura Haruno is our weakest member, with great chakra control, but little chakra. Sasuke Uchiha, well, his skills are no secret from the Konoha populace. And Hanabi Hyuga has great skill with gentle fist fighting style." Naruto tapped his fingers on the table a few times. "Hanabi," he said, addressing the 13-year-old, "I know a lot about the gentle fist style, thanks to you and your sister. Would you like to train with me?" Yeah, I guess," she said, eating a spoonful of rice. "Gaara, can you train the Haruno girl?" Gaara nodded and he turned to Kakashi. You train the Uchiha Kakashi. We'll begin tomorrow, he said, and with that, he stood up and went up to the room he and Gaara were sharing and fell asleep. The next day, Naruto sat on a tree branch, meditating. He'd been at it for hours, going over the Hyuga fighting style and thinking of ways to improve it, when Hanabi finally arrived. Okay, look, she said. I know you're a good ninja and all, but you won't be able to teach me anything new. I can teach you the technique used by the original Hyuga clan head. It wasn't that hard to master really, but for some reason your clan thinks by learning the technique they are disgracing his memory or something. Naruto smiled internally at the hungry look in Hanabi's eyes. He dropped to the ground by her and bit his thumb. Allow me to demonstrate with my puppet Senna. In a blast of smoke the Hyuga puppet appeared. Naruto connected his strings to her, mainly so he could funnel more chakra through her. Turn on your Byakugan so you can see the way the chakra is funneled, he ordered. Hanabi complied, turning her eyes from a lovely shade of lavender to an off-white color with veins bulging around them. She stared in interest as the chakra began to funnel into the puppet's arm. It twisted and bent, forming into a ball behind the chakra point in the puppet's hand. She palmed the air and the chakra shot out in a small beam that twisted outwards into a tempest of energy and curved back around the puppet's arm, forming a massive spinning drill. The same thing happened with the other arm, only instead of a drill, it was a sword. The puppet dashed forward, destroying 2 trees in the process. You see, you expel the chakra out of the chakra point on whatever limb you want to use the technique on and shift it into that shape. Then you harden it with your mind, forcing it to stay in the shape you choose until you let it go. You can also form it into beams or use it to create weapons while using 8 trigrams rotation and send them flying outwards, dealing damage in a larger area. You give it a try. Start with forming the chakra, Naruto ordered as he pulled his headband down over one eye. Why are you doing that? Hanabi asked, noticing the veins that suddenly rippled out from Senna's eyes. There is a seal on the headband that lets me see out of her eyes. This way I can monitor your chakra and tell you how to mold it correctly. Otherwise your arm will explode. Hanabi gulped and began to focus the chakra to her palm. Scene change. Gaara stared at Sakura in contemplation. Then he nodded and grabbed her shoulder. His sand engulfed them and began to move. A moment later, they landed in a field covered in cherry blossoms. All right Haruno, this is the best thing I could think of for you. All around you are cherry blossoms. But, much like you, they have a hidden potential you just need to tap into. He bent down and picked up a single blossom. Chakra raced through it and cut it into several pieces, which then rolled up into tiny sand-like particles. I'm going to teach you to do this with every blossom in the field. Why Gaara-sensei? Because, he said as he unsealed a large hourglass, a spare container for his sand, this is a great chakra control and building exercise. And when we are done, you'll be able to control the blossom sand like I control mine. With a few advanced seals you'll be able to turn it into an advanced self-activated armor as well. Sakura picked up a cherry blossom and focused her chakra into it. It split into 10 pieces like Gaara's, and then she used her chakra to roll them up and compact them in grains of sand. As soon as this was done, she started to pant. Gaara pulled out a pot of ink and a brush and painted a storage seal on her arm. He sealed the few grains she had into it. Eventually we'll put the sand into this container, he said, tapping the hourglass before sealing it into his seal. But for now we'll keep it sealed in there, okay? Sakura nodded before continuing with the process. Scene change. Kakashi had his face buried in his book, giggling every now and then. Sasuke was leaning against a tree, wondering when they finally would get to training. Then he remembered his father always told him, "We are Uchiha boy, we make the first move and we win." So Sasuke flashed through a set of hand seals and let loose with a massive fireball. Kakashi simply jumped over it, landing on the tree behind Sasuke, as the fireball demolished the tree he had just been on. Sighing, The one-eyes Junin put the book in his kunai holder before dropping to the ground. Sasuke, it's not smart to attack a superior opponent without knowing their skills. Superior. Sasuke said in disbelief. I am an Uchiha. As soon as I unlock my Sharingan I will be much stronger than you. Kakashi tilted his head to the side. Sasuke, your older brother, Itachi, does he use his Sharingan every second of every day? Well, Sasuke said, rubbing the back of his head in confusion, no, he doesn't. In fact I rarely see him use it. Exactly. Yet he's still the strongest person in your clan. The Sharingan isn't what makes Itachi strong. It's the fact that he works harder than anyone else. And you know Naruto. Sasuke nodded, his hands balling into fists at the thought of the blonde. I saw him beat the shit out of Itachi a few weeks ago. Sasuke's anger hit a new high, and he rushed Kakashi, intent on killing him, maiming him, or destroying that stupid book. He threw a punch at Kakashi, who bent to the side and slammed a kick into Sasuke's side. A moment later, he landed a fist in his gut. Sasuke yelped as the metal of Kakashi's glove, which barely touched him, sent a wave of heat over his skin, burning him. As Sasuke fell to the ground, Kakashi cracked his knuckles. That was a taste of the style I'm about to begin to teach you. Think you can handle it? Sasuke spit out a glob of blood and nodded. Scene change. That night, Tazuna, Tsunami and Inari, Tsunami's son, stared in shock as the ninja arrived back from training. Naruto, Gaara, and Kakashi were all the same, but the genin were different. Hanabi's hand was bleeding slightly, and she had several shallow cuts running up her arms. Her sleeve had been completely torn off and her hair was crazy. Sakura crushed a cherry blossom that had stuck to the bottom of her shoe with every step, and looked like she'd never had a good night's worth of sleep. Sasuke had several burn marks and patches, and was drenched head to toe. Well then, Naruto said as they sat down, let's eat shall we? And with that they dug in. For the rest of the week, they returned tired, but each time, they weren't as worse for wear, and they had a large smile on their face. 5 days after Naruto and Gaara arrived, they were talking about their training, when the kid, Inari, slammed his fist into the table. What's wrong with you people? You can't beat Gato, no matter how hard you try. You all act so strong, but you don't know anything about what we've been through. None of you have had a life as bad as mine. He didn't last long. A wave of sand swarmed forward and wrapped around him, throwing him against the wall and pinning him them, and Naruto was in front of him, his arm up to his elbow wrapped in sand, and his fingers around the boy's throat. Gaara, he ordered, let me go so I can kill him. You know you want to do the same. He doesn't know anything about us. The anger in his voice scared everyone in the room. Naruto, he doesn't know. Just let him go. Gaara said. Naruto growled and ripped his arm out of the sand. Red chakra was dancing over his arm, and his nails were long claws. His eyes had become slitted and red, and his canines had lengthened. Her jumped through the window, and dashed out into the forest. Gaara released Inari, setting him down on the floor. I'm sorry, but Inari, you know nothing of what Naruto and I have gone through. Naruto never had a family, and the villagers always hated him and beat him because the Kyuubi is sealed within him. Until he learned how to turn humans into puppets, he was beaten regularly. And while I knew my family, they all hated me, and hundreds of assassination attempts have been made on me. However, when my uncle, the one true person I thought loved me, tried to do the same, I went blood crazy, because of my demon, the Shukaku, until Naruto and I met. He calmed me down. I don't know what you went through, but it's not as bad as that. And with that, Gaara disappeared in a tornado of sand. Scene change. Naruto was having one of those rare moments when he let his emotions loose. He was flashing through hand signs, using jutsu to obliterate the surrounding area. Trees flew through the air then exploded in a shower of splinters, rocks were ripped up from over 100 feet beneath the surface and obliterated. Several times, Gaara had to guard himself after he arrived. To finish the destructive fit of rage, Naruto focused all of his chakra into his fist, like the move he was teaching Hanabi, and punched the ground. A massive explosive cyclone of chakra ripped apart the ground, leaving a massive crater. Well, that technique is coming along very well, Gaara said. Naruto turned to him, his eyes still red. The Kyuubi's influence disappeared, and Naruto calmly pushed the dirt and dust off of him with a pulse of chakra. That little brat needs to learn there are always people off worse than you, Naruto said as he and Gaara began to walk back to the house. Naruto, give him a break. He never knew his real father and his stepfather was murdered before everyone in town. He's traumatized. Naruto snorted before veering off. I'm going to go work on some puppet designs. I'll be back in the morning. Gaara nodded before disappearing into the sand twister. Naruto went to a clearing full of healing herbs, where he climbed up a tree and stared up at the sky, looking for inspiration for new puppets. Scene change. Naruto awoke to the sound of birds chirping, the wind blowing, and the sun shining in his eyes. In one hand was a sketch pad full of puppet designs and sketches, and in the other, a bag full of pencils to draw with. He started reaching above him, where a set of puppets' arms were forming a hand seal, causing a shield that blocked Naruto from sight to appear around him, when he heard a crunch of dried leaves. Looking down into the clearing, he saw a girl dressed in a pink kimono with her hair down, picking up herbs. Naruto stared at the herbs, categorizing each on into what they can make. While he preferred poison, he had to learn what plants can make what healing ointments, so he could make antidotes for said poison. And the plants the girl had, combined with the ones she was picking, could make several things, including chakra boosters, muscle relaxants, muscle strengtheners, reflexes increaser, and a medley of others. Naruto wiped blood on a seal and the puppet arms disappeared. He jumped down, landing behind the girl, and drew a katana handle. The blade shot out of the handle and gleamed in the morning sun. The girl jumped back, pulling out Senbon as she did. Naruto stared at her, before sniffing the air. He relaxed and began to laugh, a blood-chilling sound that sent chills down the girl's back. Why are you dressed like that? Naruto asked as he hit a secret button on the handle. The blade collapsed and folded in on itself, leaving only the handle, which Naruto shoved into his kunai pouch, along with the sketch pad and pencils. This is what girls wear. The girl answered, her grip on the Senbon lessening slightly. Exactly. But you are a guy. And if I'm right, he said, taking a few more sniffs in her direction, you have a Kekkei Genkei that can control ice. How did you know? The now revealed boy asked, dropping his Senbon. Well, you smell like Zabuza for one. You also smell like ice, testosterone, and mist. Naruto explained as he began to leave. Wait, aren't you going to fight me? The boy asked in confusion. No, I have to squabble with you. Besides, I have to go spy out the floor plan of Gato's compound. I'm Naruto Uzumaki by the way. He told the boy as he unsealed 3 things. A pair of sunglasses with X-ray seals, power level detection seals, recording seals, seals to tell what's inside a scroll, and the optical seal that allows Naruto to see out of the puppet's eyes on each lenses, a straw hat that had storage seals painted on the edge which had some nasty surprises built in, and a cloak that covered most of his body that had a picture of the Kyuubi exploding out of hellfire. I'm Haku. The boy answered. Naruto jumped into one of the lower branches after putting on the 3 items. He turned to Haku and said, It was nice meeting you, but be warned, cross my path or attack my precious people, and you will die. And with that, he jumped up onto the air, floating away on what he now called his airborne jutsu. He shot across the island, eventually off of it, until he found his way to an island almost the same size as Wave, with a huge castle wall around the perimeter. Guards patrolled the outer wall and inner fortifications, as well as the lower levels of the island. On the bottom floor were 2 doors, one leading to Gato, the other leading to the jackpot of all jackpots. It was a massive storage room that was almost completely full that covered over 3/4 of the island. Scrolls containing the bodies of prominent ninja to hold as ransom or to turn in as bounties, hundreds of different weapons, massive scrolls containing jutsus, as well several summoning scrolls. Naruto spent the rest of the night memorizing the guard shift patterns, the way each guard acted, which guards were where at what times, where Gato went at each second. And of course, searching for the vault of the compound. When he finally returned, he told Kakashi to let him sleep in and dropped onto his bed, fully clothed, and covered himself up and falling asleep. Scene change. At 9:30, Gaara, Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, and Hanabi all exited the house. Hanabi now had a pair of metal bracers on her arms to protect herself from the backlash of chakra the technique caused. Sasuke now wore gloves like Kakashi's, only with spikes on each knuckle instead of a metal place across. Sakura now had a giant hourglass tied to her back, filled with pink sand. Together, the group began to head towards the bridge with Tazuna. "Sensei," Hanabi asked, "where is Naruto? He was spying on Gato's compound most of the night, so I let him sleep." Kakashi answered, for once without his little orange book. They took their time getting to the bridge, finally arriving at 10 o'clock. When they did arrive, they found all the workers collapsed on the ground, covered in large but shallow cuts, or filled with senbon. "Kakashi Hatake." A disembodied voice rang out as a thick mist flew in on an invisible wind. "It's so good to see you again." Suddenly, Zabuza was in the middle of their formation. His blade was poised to slit Tazuna's throat, until two waves of sand, one brown, one pink, exploded from either side, and threw Zabuza back through the mist. "That was a new one," the missing nin said, wiping some blood from his mouth. Hanabi stepped forward and began to focus chakra into her hand. "Eat this Zabuza," she yelled, her Byakugan flaring. Forbidden Hyuga style. Chakra Ray Pulse. A sonic blast of chakra sent the mist and Zabuza reeling backwards. However, Zabuza's assistant dropped down behind him and grabbed him, steadying his master. "Haku, destroy these brats," Zabuza hissed. The assistant, dressed as a hunter nin, nodded, before beginning a set of hand seals. However, Sasuke couldn't have that, and shot forward. He threw a punch, but Haku dodged it by leaning his head to the side. The fist slammed into a stack of wood, and when Sasuke pulled his spikes out, the pile exploded into flames. The Uchiha smiled at the hunter nin, before beginning a barrage of attacks that blurred in and out of focus. Yet somehow, Haku managed to dodge the attacks. He jumped in the air and flashed through hand seals. "Water style. Water dragon jutsu," he yelled. A dragon of water flew upwards and dove down towards Sasuke, who jumped into the air, dodging the massive explosion of water that almost had him. Haku smiled underneath his mask, flashing through a set of one-handed hand signs. Secret technique. Demon ice mirrors. The water on the ground swirled up into the air, forming shining mirrors. The mirrors formed a tight dome around Sasuke, and as Haku stepped into one and drew several senbon, his reflection appeared in all the others at the same time. Sasuke gulped. Uchiha or not, this wasn't going to end well at all. Scene change. Naruto woke up to the sound of something breaking. Instantly, he had Quicksilver out and was rushing down the stairs. His four puppets were fighting off against two obviously expert samurai. They had already destroyed the two rooftop puppets, and their swords were flying at amazing speeds as they battled these four. Naruto noted with slight surprise that someone had painted chakra-enhancing seals on the blades of the men's swords that increased the force and sharpness of the two weapons. Naruto smiled and sent Quicksilver flying forward. The puppet landed behind the two men and drew two of its four katana, slitting the two men's throats. Naruto sealed them away while at the same time deactivating the puppets and sliding their swords into his cloak. He nodded to Inari, who had two large kitchen knives in his hand, about to attack the two men himself, before disappearing. Obviously, Gato was making his move, so Naruto had to do the same. 10 minutes later, Naruto smiled as his army of shadow clones rushed the compound. Alarms went off as the first few clones jumped the walls, killing any and all samurai they found. Naruto himself was more patient. He knew that it would be a long time before all the samurai were killed. If he didn't want to use their bodies, it wouldn't have been such a big deal, just a giant fireball jutsu combined with a giant great breakthrough jutsu, and they would all be dead. But not this time, unfortunately. Instead, Naruto had his clones round up 500 of Gato's remaining troops, using his glasses to figure out that Gato himself had disappeared already. He summoned his 3 newest combat puppets, Mizuki, Yen and Yang. Mizuki was still part nature demon, and Naruto realized that he could have the demon part spread over his body with pulses of chakra. Yen and Yang had been difficult. He ended up putting holes in the bodies of the 2 Kagaya at random points that would open up and allow the bones to extend. The clones disappeared up onto the wall as the real Naruto appeared. He had the largest holes on the 2 Kagayas, the ones on their backs, open up, and large bones shot into the ground. They spread out underground, sending bone spikes up into the air beneath the men. Mizuki was transformed into his full demon form, and hundreds of small, thin vines, tipped with poisonous thorns and stingers, shot out and stabbed the men through the eyes, or nicked them with the stingers, killing them with the poison. The samurai dropped to the ground and the clones rushed forward, collecting all the bodies and sealing them up. Naruto, however, sealed up the twins while riding on Mizuki's back. He used Mizuki's largest vines, twisting them together to form a drill, and burrowing into the ground. He and the puppet dropped down to the bottom floor, where 20 startled samurai stared at them in shock. Naruto grabbed his hat and threw it. With a loud clink, the storage seals lit up and hooked blades appeared out of the rim. They sliced through the samurai, taking off their heads quickly, brutally, and effectively. Next, he sealed up Mizuki and entered the first door, the storage room. He made more clones, and had them seal up the bodies and everything in that room, while he went into the second room, Gato's office. Behind a large painting of Gato was a safe. He stuck an explosive note on it and backed a few feet away. Then he opened up the now unlocked safe and took everything within. Then he pulled out 4 bundles of his most powerful explosive notes. He stuck them to the walls as he ascended through the levels of the compound, putting one on the wall every 60 feet or so, connecting them with chakra strings. As he exited the compound, a clone handed him a scroll containing the bodies of the samurai. Another clone came out and gave him a scroll containing 2 larger scrolls that had everything in the storage room, as well as the bodies. The clones dispersed and he lifted into the air on the airboard jutsu, until he was 50 feet above the wall. Then he summoned his newest puppet series, a group of non-combat puppets used to create seals. He controlled each of these 10 puppets with one finger as he ran around, painting seals on the walls. 30 minutes later, he unrolled a scroll slightly and made a hand seal. The castle wall exploded into white smoke, which snaked its way up to scroll and attached itself to the paper. He then rolled it up and snapped his fingers, turned, and could be seen shooting off towards the bridge as the entire island imploded and sunk to the bottom of the ocean. Scene change. The battle at the bridge was not going as well as they had hoped. Sasuke was still trapped inside the dome, and now so was Hanabi, who had tried to rescue him. Sakura had herself and Tazuna wrapped in a sphere of pink sand, and Gaara and Kakashi were using their individual abilities to attack Zabuza. Haku was throwing Senbon after Senbon, and Hanabi was already 2/3 of the way empty of her chakra reserves after using the chakra pulse so many times to deflect his attacks. Sakura's sand was getting wet from the now 3 times heavier mist, and she had to reinforce it with more chakra. Sasuke's Sharingan had finally activated, but it did him little good at the moment. Gaara and Kakashi were both losing their offensive edge as the fight wore on. All 5 of them realized this must end soon or it would end badly. Without warning, There was a sound like a chainsaw and all of Haku's ice mirrors were destroyed except for the one he stood in by a straw hat with sharp blades extending from its rim. The hat circled around and was caught by its owner, Naruto, who rose up from the end of the bridge on the air and landed on the very edge. With a simple finger movement, Zabuza's blade was stopped mid-slice by a chakra string, and Haku was pulled from his mirror and dragged across the bridge. The two ninjas stared in shock as Naruto snapped his fingers and a set of armor made of pure chakra wrapped around him. He turned to the Hyuga, and spoke in an altered voice. This is how the technique is used, Hanabi. Watch and learn from the master. Zabuza and Haku both lunged towards him, but he punched the bridge, and a slab of stone lifted up, hitting Zabuza in the stomach, while the crane swung its hook around and caught Haku's kimono, throwing him across the bridge. Naruto began punching, chopping, and kicking the air, sending waves of chakra outwards towards the two ninja. He delivered strike after strike, until they both fell to the ground, covered in shallow wounds. Naruto dissipated the armor and walked over to Zabuza, intent on talking him out of attacking them any longer. However, the demon of the bloody mist jumped to his feet and stabbed his sword. Naruto flipped over the blade, shaking his head as he did so, and stabbed the two samurai swords upwards, charging them with lightning chakra, straight into Haku's heart and stomach. Zabuza laughed as the boy crumbled to the ground. That's a good tool, Haku. He chuckled. Naruto scowled and stabbed both of the blades into Zabuza's ears and into his brain, killing him instantly. Naruto had just enough time to seal the corpse away before someone at the end of the bridge began to clap as the mist cleared away. Very good, very good. Gato said as he and his 50 samurai stepped forward. Now I don't have to waste time killing that fool. The small man moved to the back of the group and snapped. Kill them all quickly. The samurai rushed forward, only for a dome of ice mirrors to appear around them. Haku, holding his left side, appeared in the mirrors and began to rain down kunai and shuriken. The samurai were slaughtered. The mirrors fell apart, and Naruto barely caught Haku in time as he fell backwards, unconscious. He tsked at the sight of the massacred bodies, but pushed the disappointment away with the thought of the other samurai he had in his possession. Kakashi, Gaara, he called out as Gato was wrapped in a cocoon of sand. I'm going to heal this boy, okay? Here, he said, throwing a scroll containing the deeds to wave and all the companies Gato owned to Tazuna. Use this to bring back your country, okay? He never waited for an answer, instead opting to shunshin away to the house, where he began to pour his chakra into Haku for the next 3 hours non-stop. At the end of the third hour, Haku's eyes opened up and he stared back at Naruto. Naruto, is that you? He asked in a weak voice. Fear suddenly gripped him as he watched Naruto's hand snake inside his cloak to his waist. There was a click and Haku closed his eyes as the arm flew back out. Crucnh. Haku opened his eyes in disbelief as Naruto began to chew on the Pocky. You should be okay. Just rest here a few hours, will you? Haku nodded as Naruto continued to chew on the Pocky stick. I'll have to sneak you out of this place inside one of my puppets to get you into Konoha. Once we're there I can finish up your healing and you can be on your merry way. Naruto said as he wrapped the wounds in bandages. Why are you healing me? Haku asked as Naruto bit into the bandage, tearing it. Because you shouldn't be killed so pointlessly, Haku. You have great potential you could give to someone. You mean be a tool again, this time for you? Haku asked in a hollow voice. Naruto shook his head. No, you only become my tool if you die by my hand. I meant as a friend, Haku. And with that, Naruto got up and left. Time skip. 2 days later, Naruto finished healing Haku in Konoha. As Haku leaned up, Naruto came into his room with a box. I have a choice for you, Haku. You can either leave Konoha, go explore, get stronger, or you can stay here with me and Gaara and become a personal ninja to the Hokage. He said, opening up the box. Inside was a leaf headband with pale blue cloth and the Konoha symbol inside of a snowflake, with icicles hanging from it. You mean, I can stay here with you? Naruto nodded his head. Haku's answer was to reach forward and take the headband. He tied it around his forehead and fell backwards onto the pillow.